Something is wrong with you. That's what you've decided. Because normal people feel good when things go well. They celebrate the win. They enjoy the momentum. They receive the success without immediately looking for the catch. You don't. When things start working, really working, something in you tightens. A low-grade unease that has no logical explanation. A quiet voice that says this isn't real, that it won't last, that you're waiting for the correction that always comes. You've called it anxiety, imposter syndrome, overthinking. It's none of those things. It's a nervous system that was calibrated for struggle. Encountering a condition it was never built to hold. Here's what nobody says about success. It doesn't feel like a rival, not for most people, not for people whose nervous systems were built in environments where stability was uncertain, where resources were inconsistent, where safety was conditional on performance. For those people, and you know if you're one of them, success doesn't feel like relief. It feels like exposure, like standing somewhere you don't have permission to be yet, like borrowed time that will eventually be reclaimed, like waiting, not for more success, for the return to familiar. Because familiar is where your nervous system knows the rules. Familiar is where the threat model has been tested and verified. Success is uncharted territory. And your nervous system treats uncharted territory the same way it treats every unknown, as a potential threat. Here's the mechanism. 3 of them. None of them mean something is wrong with you. Mechanism 1, calibration mismatch. Mechanism 2, hypervigilance transfer. Mechanism 3, identity incongruence. Mechanism 1, calibration mismatch. Your nervous system has a model of what your life is supposed to feel like. Not what you want it to feel like, what it predicts it will feel like. That model was built from repeated experience, from the emotional temperature of the environment you grew up in, from the baseline level of stability or instability that your nervous system encoded as normal, from the implicit answer to the question your system was always asking, how much good is allowed before the correction comes? For some people, that model was built in environments of consistent stability, where good things happened and stayed, where success accumulated without sudden reversal, where the nervous system learned, through repeated evidence, that elevation was safe. For most people, it wasn't. Most people's models were built in environments where things were inconsistent enough that the nervous system learned a different lesson. Good things end. Stability is temporary. The higher you go, the further the fall. That lesson isn't a belief you chose. It's a prediction your nervous system encoded from experience. And when success arrives, when the income rises, when the momentum builds, when the life you said you wanted starts to materialize, your nervous system doesn't experience it as a rival. It experiences it as deviation from the model. And deviation from the model triggers one response: return to predicted state. The weird feeling when things go well isn't anxiety about the future. It's your nervous system detecting a mismatch between current reality and its calibrated model, and beginning the correction. Mechanism 2, hypervigilance transfer. Here's the specific mechanism that produces the feeling you've never been able to name. In environments where stability was uncertain, where good things came with hidden costs, where success attracted negative attention, where things going well was historically followed by things going badly, your nervous system developed a survival adaptation: hypervigilance, the constant automatic scanning for threat, the inability to fully relax into a positive moment because some part of your system is always monitoring for the reversal. In the environment where it was built, this adaptation was intelligent. If good things reliably preceded bad things, staying alert during good things was the rational response. The problem is that hypervigilance doesn't update automatically when the environment changes. You are no longer in that environment, but your nervous system is still running the scan, still monitoring the good moment for signs of incoming threat, still unable to receive success without simultaneously bracing for its removal. What you feel when things go well isn't a character flaw. It's a survival adaptation running in the wrong environment. The scan that protected you then is the unease that limits you now. Mechanism 3. Identity incongruence. This is the mechanism that makes the feeling most intense at exactly the moments when things are going best. Your nervous system has a model of you, a precise subcortical model of what level of success, visibility, income, and stability belongs to someone like you. That model was built before you knew you could choose it. And when your actual life exceeds that model, when reality is measurably better than the identity your nervous system has encoded as yours, something fires, not pride, not satisfaction. A quiet alarm. This doesn't match the model. This isn't yours. This is borrowed. That alarm is what produces the specific flavor of discomfort that success generates in people who grew up with an identity model built below their actual potential. It's not imposter syndrome in the popular sense. It's not fear of being found out. It's deeper than that. It's a nervous system experiencing a gap between current reality and encoded identity, and generating the emotional signal designed to close that gap by returning you to the level the model knows. Here's why this matters beyond the feeling itself. The weird feeling when things go well isn't just uncomfortable, it's operational. It determines what you do next. When success produces unease instead of stability, when winning generates hypervigilance instead of confidence, when things going well feels like exposure instead of arrival. You don't build from the elevated position. You find a way back to familiar, not consciously. Through the accumulation of small decisions that each feel reasonable in isolation, the opportunity you qualified, the relationship you complicated, the momentum you interrupted with a problem that didn't need to exist yet. You didn't sabotage yourself. Your nervous system executed a correction, returning you to the level where the model says you belong. And until the model changes, the correction will keep coming, every time, with complete precision, in the moments you can least afford it. So what changes the model? Not gratitude practices, not reframing the success as deserved, not telling yourself you're allowed to have good things. Those interventions operate at the cortical level. The model is subcortical. You cannot think your way to a nervous system that knows how to receive success. You can only build one through repeated lived experience of success that doesn't get corrected. 3 architectural interventions, in sequence. First, name the mechanism in real time. The feeling when things go well has a name now. Calibration mismatch, hypervigilance transfer, identity incongruence. The moment you feel it, the specific tightening, the low-grade unease, the quiet alarm that says this won't last, you name it. Not to dismiss it, not to override it, to create the one thing that breaks the automatic correction cycle: distance. You cannot be inside the pattern and watching the pattern simultaneously. The moment you name the mechanism, you are no longer executing it automatically. You are observing it. And observation creates the space where a different choice becomes possible. Second, extend the stay. The correction happens because your nervous system has insufficient evidence that elevated states are safe to inhabit. The intervention is to generate that evidence, deliberately, repeatedly, at the exact moment the unease fires. Instead of finding the exit when things go well, you stay, not forever. Not with forced positivity. One day longer than your system wants to retreat. One decision made from the elevated position instead of the contracted one. One moment of inhabiting the success without immediately bracing for its removal. Each extended stay without catastrophe updates the prediction. Each non-corrected success files new data in the model. The model updates through evidence, not affirmation. Evidence. Third, recalibrate the identity model directly. The identity model that says this level doesn't belong to you was built through experience. It can only be updated through experience. Specifically, through repeated, deliberate exposure to the elevated level until your nervous system stops filing it as deviation and starts filing it as home. This doesn't happen through visualization, it happens through behavior. Making decisions from the elevated identity before the elevated identity feels natural. Holding the standard before the evidence confirms you're the person who holds it. Existing in the rooms, having the conversations, making the moves of the version of you the model hasn't caught up to yet. Until the model catches up. Until the success stops feeling borrowed. Until things going well feels like exactly where you're supposed to be. The person who receives success without the weird feeling isn't wired differently than you. They don't have a superior nervous system. They have a nervous system that was calibrated, either through the environment they grew up in or through deliberate architectural recalibration, to treat elevation as home rather than deviation. What feels like exposure to you feels like Tuesday to them, not because they deserve it more, because their model was built differently. And models can be rebuilt. You were never broken. You were calibrated for an environment that required vigilance during good times because good times historically preceded bad ones. That calibration kept you safe. It also kept you from fully inhabiting the success you've been building toward your entire life. The weird feeling when things go well isn't evidence that something is wrong with you. It's evidence that your nervous system was paying attention in an environment that rewarded that kind of attention. The environment has changed. The calibration hasn't. Yet. If this landed harder than it should have, that's not an accident. Day 1 of the protocol identifies your exact identity model, the specific ceiling your nervous system has encoded as yours, the precise level where elevation starts to feel like deviation. Most people have felt the mismatch their entire lives without ever mapping where it was set or why. That's why the success keeps feeling borrowed. Over 30 days, you identify the exact calibration, dismantle the hypervigilance patterns reinforcing it, and build the evidence base that makes elevated states feel like home instead of exposure. Not philosophy, not reframing, architectural recalibration your current nervous system has never been given. Here's what happens without it. The next good moment arrives. The tightening fires. The quiet alarm says this isn't real, this won't last, wait for the correction, and you find your way back to familiar. Again, not because you chose it, because the model hasn't changed. If you want success to stop feeling like a warning, the architecture is in my bio. It's the only place I'm giving it. Calibration.